This week, we're making our pilgrimage to the famous prehistoric observatory, Stonehenge. We'll discuss the history and meaning of the placement of these individual stones in this amazing observatory. We'll check out the history right after this. Stay tuned. Hey, hello, hi, and welcome to episode 6 of KPO's European Astronomy Tour. This week we're visiting one of my life bucket list destinations, the prehistoric stone formation, Stonehenge. In this episode, we'll certainly delve into archaeology, astronomy, and ancient Stone Age history, and learn about the dwellers that settled into the Salisbury Plain, which is now the English countryside. This iconic monument of 160 rocks and stones dates back to a time before the Egyptians built the ancient pyramids. The monuments remained as a marvel of ancient engineering. Stonehenge is made up of several kinds of rocks and standing stones made of Sarson, sandstone taken from the local area, which is more dense than granite. These larger stones are 20 feet tall, with some weighing as much as 45 tons. There's horizontal stones called lintels, set in place on top of the standing stones. The amazing thing about the construction of the stones is that they were carved and tapered very accurately. Originally, a curved set of lintels form a perfect circle and were connected with a series of tongue and groove connections. The round ring was set extremely level, within inches of being perfect over the large area. Mind you that this was all carved out of very hard rock. Other smaller rocks within the outer areas of the central ring are bluestones, not native to this area at all. They originated from Wales, over 150 miles away, and weigh on average about 6 tons each. How did they get here to Salisbury? The builders of Stonehenge are unknown, as is also the reason that the structure was even built. Recent archaeological digs have determined that the area was used as a burial ground, collected in 56 pits within a ring around the main circle of stones. These pits were known as Aubrey holes, and many digs have rediscovered many instances of cremated remains of bone fragments. With a lot of detailed, meticulous analysis, it's been hypothesized that the people buried here were primarily male and were most probably leaders or important family members. What's even more interesting is how the huge stones were moved to the area and stood up. Again, some of these stones weighed 45 tons. And how were the huge lintels raised up and placed on top of the standing stones? Potentially this was done with large groups of men with levers and handmade ropes, rolling the large stones on many tree trunks. But there's also a lot of myth around this question because we've never really discovered the real answer. But there's even more mystery around the meaning of Stonehenge and what it was used for. We'll dig into that right after this. So what's the real meaning of Stonehenge? Certainly there's some major astronomical purpose due to the alignment of the avenue. This main street, leading away from the circle, is aligned to the rising point of the sun on the summer solstice, and in the opposite direction, we see the setting sun aligned on the avenue on the evening of the winter solstice. Even more interesting is the existence of another ancient circle, or henge, close by called Durrington Walls, which was constructed from wooden timbers around the same time that Stonehenge was built. This was also a major settlement area where people actually lived. Both circles were connected to the river Avon by avenues. Durrington Walls has an exact opposite orientation to Stonehenge. On the summer solstice, the sun sets on the avenue at Durrington, and in the opposite direction it experiences the sunrise on the winter solstice. So there are theories that on the major solstices there would be celebrations or feasts to commemorate the event. On the summer solstice, the celebration would begin at Stonehenge and the ceremony would move to Durrington Walls to see the sun set. Conversely, on the winter solstice, the event would begin at Durrington with the sunrise and then move to the avenue at Stonehenge for the sunset. It's been suggested that Stonehenge was associated with and considered to be the land of the dead, where death is commemorated and important leaders are buried. On the other hand, Durrington was considered the land of the living, where the people lived and worked. They are connected by the river Avon. So during these important solstice events, the people would walk in procession along the river from Dorrington, the land of the living, to Stonehenge, the land of the dead. Very mystical. So the main focus, as it were, of any photographer coming to Stonehenge is to capture the golden sun setting behind the stones. England is not known for its clear skies, and it's always a gamble. Right after this break, I'll tell you my adventure of the photo shoot of the stones, sun, and sky. So we were here last night to catch the sunset, and I was able to capture some interesting images. I was actually lucky enough to get a mostly clear sky with the sun behind the stones. I had done some prep work and found that the sun was setting at 8:47 p.m. local time and at an azimuth of 300 degrees. As we approached the area, we quickly saw the stone formation at the top of a small rise, and I realized that we were almost in the perfect position. There already was a large line of cars, and there was no way to get out of our car. So with the sunset quickly approaching, we proceeded down the road to a roundabout and slowly crept back to the perfect shoot location, with the sun right behind the stones. We stopped the car, and I jumped out with my camera and tripod in an area where there was only about 2 feet between the edge of the road and a fence. As I shot the images, cars were whizzing by me only a couple feet away. The treacheries that we photographers have to endure to get the perfect picture. So that was an amazing day at Stonehenge. Let's review some of the interesting facts that we learned about this prehistoric monument. We mentioned that the Stonehenge formation is made up of approximately 160 stones, with some of the largest Sarson standing stones weighing 40 to 50 tons. Then we discussed how Stonehenge was also used as a burial ground, with tribe leaders and other important men being buried in the Aubrey Hole pits located within the outer circle. Lastly, we talked about the curious solstice alignment and cultural association between Stonehenge and Dorrington Walls, another henge located several miles away. There are still several mysteries surrounding Stonehenge, and archaeologists are still working hard today to uncover its secrets. So that's a wrap on this episode of KPO's European Astronomy Tour. You can see the episode notes at kpobservatory.org/EAT06, where you can find our itinerary and publication schedule for the rest of the trip. Throughout this tour, as I've mentioned, I'll be checking the site and YouTube for any comments or questions that you may have, so feel free to ask me any questions you'd like. In next week's episode, we'll land in Edinburgh, Scotland, and visit the Royal Edinburgh Observatory, where we'll tour the observatory and interview 2 staff members, get a tour of the 35 Cassegrain telescope, and learn about the astronomy outreach programs held at the Visitor Center. There are many historical connections between the ROE and the ROG, which is the Royal Observatory Greenwich, and we'll explore these historical facts between our interviews. It'll be a wee bunny bit of history. Until then, happy travels and clear skies, and we'll see you next time on KPO's European Astronomy Tour.